This is Autoline Daily, the show dedicated to enthusiasts of the global automotive industry. It almost sounds hard to believe, but Volkswagen, which generated 347 billion euros in revenue last year, is running out of cash. The situation is so dire that its supervisory board just slammed the brakes on any capital investments for the rest of the year. VW is short on investments it has to pay off next year by about 11 billion euros. And the board is practically looking under the couch cushions for spare change. In its Q3 filings, VW reported that it generated zero free cash flow this year, which is what management usually likes to tap into to fund investments. All this has got analysts talking about the need for VW to sell off non-core assets, and that makes us wonder if Scout could be in trouble. Not surprisingly, Jaguar Land Rover's profits took a beating in its most recent quarter due to the cyber attack that crippled its entire global operations for more than a month. The automakers sold just over 66,000 vehicles, down 24% compared to a year ago. That brought in £4.9 billion in revenue, which was also a 24% decline, and it posted a net loss of $547 million. While the cyber attack was the main reason for the losses, JLR's earnings were also impacted by U.S. tariffs and Jaguar phasing out sales as it pivots to a new electric lineup that debuts next year. However, the worst should be in JLR's rearview mirror. Its production has returned to normal levels, and Ray Scott, the CEO of the supplier Lear, told the Automotive Press Association that he believes the company will make up most of its lost production by the end of the year. Tesla is working on adding Apple CarPlay to its vehicles. Bloomberg reports that the company has been testing the system and discussed rolling it out in the coming months, according to people with knowledge on the matter. CarPlay wouldn't fully replace Tesla's operating system like it does in some other vehicles, but would instead get its own display window. It also wouldn't be integrated with FSD. But if the report is true, it would be a big reversal for the company, because up until this point, it's ignored customer pleas to add the feature, instead pushing its own in-house infotainment system. But car buyers really enjoy the feature. According to a study from McKinsey & Company, a third of car buyers said not having Apple CarPlay or Android Auto would be a deal breaker.
The automotive and industrial sectors are undergoing a historic transformation. Electrification, digitalization, supply chain reinvention, regulatory shifts. The pace is accelerating and the pressure to adapt is real. This is not a time for hesitation. It's a time for bold decisions, backed by fast, effective execution. You need a partner who understands complexity, from factory floors to boardrooms, and delivers measurable results. That partner is Alex Partners, when it really matters.
The first company could soon start mining lithium from that giant deposit in Arkansas called the Smackover Formation, which contains more than 5 million metric tons of the metal. Reuters reports that lithium company Standard Lithium now has the backing of U.S. senators, the Department of Energy, and permitting officials, and is aiming to start operations in 2028. However, it still needs approval for direct lithium extraction, or DLE, a process that's potentially more efficient at extracting lithium compared to current methods. So far, no company has been able to make DLE work at a commercial scale, but Standard adopted a new DLE process that it believes will work and that it will get approval for. Toyota hopes to expand the potential of IC engines that run on liquid hydrogen through its racing efforts. The automaker has been using this setup on the track since 2023, but it's made continuous improvements over the last 2 years and is introducing a couple of upgrades this weekend. That includes one of the things that makes liquid hydrogen so unique, that it needs to be stored at cryogenic temperatures to remain a liquid. Instead of pumping hydrogen from outside of the tank, Toyota submerged the pump right into the tank. While that freed up space allowing the tank to be bigger, it now had to deal with those frigid temperatures. So it's testing out a superconducting pump, which can lose most of its electrical resistance when cooled to extremely low temperatures. That makes the pump really efficient, and Toyota also hopes it improves the durability of the fuel delivery system during the race. On top of that, a flange was eliminated on top of the tank because it was a possible source for heat to get in, because when liquid hydrogen warms above cryogenic temperatures, it starts to boil off. Over 90% of American drivers buckle up whenever they drive, but the ones who don't account for nearly half of all traffic deaths. A study by Pegasus Legal Capital found that unbelted occupants account for nearly 50% of all fatalities, and people who are 16 to 24 years old account for 37% of that. Pegasus warns that not wearing a seatbelt can be considered contributory negligence in a personal injury claim, meaning you may not be able to collect full damages even if you weren't at fault. BorgWarner was just given an R&D award for a new type of electric motor that it developed with the Oak Ridge National Lab. The motor doesn't use any rare earth magnets and yet still has 25% more power density than similar motors that do use rare earth magnets. It also doesn't use any brushes or slip rings, which makes it more reliable and helps shrink the size by 15%. BorgWarner says the motor has 92 to 95% efficiency and can run at over 20,000 RPM. Chinese automaker Chery underestimated the capabilities of one of its SUVs. A full-win X3L tried climbing the 999-step Stairway to Heaven on China's Tianmen Mountain, but at one point loses traction and slides back down a portion of the steps, hitting and breaking a rock guardrail. Chery issued an apology the next day, saying in part the incident, quote, exposed our insufficient assessment of potential risks and lapses in detail control. It's possible the automaker was trying to replicate the stunt being pulled off by a Range Rover Sport in 2018, which went viral and racked up nearly 7 million views. But that brings us to the end of today's show. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope that you have a great weekend.
Autoline Daily is brought to you by Alex Partners, when it really matters. CSP, the Composites Solution Partner. Intrepid Control Systems, over-the-air engineering, boost your game. And thanks to the following YouTube and Patreon members.
Developing today's vehicles, issues can happen in an instant. What good is knowing your problems without the data to solve them? Meet Wireless Neovi Cloud, your secure off-the-shelf solution, empowering real-time collaboration for quick resolution. With Wireless Neovi Cloud, your team can prevent issues before they can escalate. Driver communication data and remote diagnostics to analyze and resolve your problems using OTA, allowing your executives oversight throughout the process. Wireless Neovi Cloud, your vehicle update solution in production and on the road. Intrepid Control Systems, driven by your data.
At CSP, we work with OEM engineers across the country on their journeys to lighter, safer, and more eco-friendly vehicles. Learn more at thecsp.com.
Wards is the industry leader for news, data, and analysis. That's why companies across the globe subscribe to our premium service, maybe even your own. Log in for subscriber access now. Check your company's intranet for details, and rely on wardsauto.com to keep you informed.